A very beautiful quote on peace by Nobel laureate Dalai Lama. Peace does not mean an absence of conflicts. Differences will always be there. Peace means solving these differences through peaceful means, through dialogue, education, knowledge, and through humane ways. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of W.H. Smith Memorial School, I extend my heartfelt welcome to our key panelist, Professor Priyanka Upadhyay, UNESCO Chair for Peace and Intercultural Understanding, Malviya Center for Peace Research, BHU. I also welcome other dignitaries of Rotary Club Varanasi South. Allow me to introduce a prominent Rotarian, Deepak Asthana, President, Rotary Club Varanasi South for the year 2020-21. He is also Brand Ambassador, District 3120 Public Image. He had been Assistant Governor in 2018-19, Assistant Governor, District 3120 in 2019-20. He has been awarded with a certificate of appreciation from DM Mr. Kaushal Raj Sharma and Commissioner Mr. Deepak Agarwal. He has been awarded Silver Medal for Naval Branch by the President. He was declared Best Rotarian in the year 2018-19. A very simple, amiable, and extremely grounded, and also a champion social worker who has been consistently organizing medical health camps and child care camps. Almost every year, he has been actively helping the flood victims by providing them with food grains, detergents, and medical care. During the pandemic of COVID-19, for 40 consecutive days, he had been instrumental in distributing food packets and grains to the impoverished and vulnerable people dwelling in the slum areas. Probably his biggest achievement till date has been to convert the residence of the former Prime Minister of India, late Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri, into a museum at Ramnagar in Varanasi. I feel absolutely honored in introducing another luminary who is a Rotarian as well. Rotarian Pradeep Kumar De, Secretary, Rotary Club Varanasi South 2020-21. Sir also coronated the post of President, Rotary Club Varanasi South in the year 2010 and 11. A champion, a philanthropist, and a dedicated social worker who has been unfailingly shouldering his responsibilities towards social cause encompassing physically challenged and deprived lot of society. Sir is the manager of William Henry Smith Memorial School and has been among the directors of W.S. Smith School. Sir is also an active member of OESCA. Last but not the least, a visionary, an eminent educationist, and a great facilitator of education, Rotarian Dr. Anita Polinde. Rotarian Dr. Anita Polinde has been magnificently shouldering on dual responsibilities of being an active Rotarian and a dynamic principal of W.H. Smith Memorial School. Ma'am has a vast experience in dealing with teenagers and has presented papers and conducted workshops on a wide gamut of issues from anger management to Panch Tattva, a holistic life skill technique developed by her to be a total quality person. Under the able guidance of Professor Priyanka Upadhyay, UNESCO Chair for Peace and Intercultural Understanding Asia, ma'am has completed her research which covers 7 major states of India in a study of Gurukuls, Madarsas, CBSE, ISC, State Board, missionary schools to explore the inter-religious peace building at secondary school level, current principles and practices. Now I would like to invite Rotarian Deepak Asthana for his presidential remark. Over to Asthana, sir.
थैंक यू मीनाक्षी जी। आज के इस कार्यक्रम के मुख्य अतिथि प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर प्रियंकर उपाध्याय जी, यूनेस्को चेयर पीस एंड इंटरकल्चर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, डब्ल्यू.एच. स्मिथ मेमोरियल स्कूल की प्रिंसिपल एवं आज के प्रोग्राम की कन्वेनर पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट रोटेरियन डॉक्टर अनीता पॉलिन डेव, डब्ल्यू.एच. स्मिथ मेमोरियल स्कूल के डायरेक्टर पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट रोटेरियन प्रदीप कुमार डेव, ओएसका वाराणसी चैप्टर के प्रेसिडेंट पीडीजी रोटेरियन डॉक्टर वीएन सिंह जी, असिस्टेंट गवर्नर मनीष राज जी, असिस्टेंट गवर्नर राजीव जयपुरिया जी, असिस्टेंट गवर्नर देवेंद्र मोहन जी, असिस्टेंट गवर्नर संजय श्रीवास्तव जी, असिस्टेंट गवर्नर संजय गुप्ता जी, उपस्थित अन्य क्लबों के अध्यक्ष, सचिव एवं सभी सम्मानित रोटेरियन बंधुओं, डब्ल्यू.एच. स्मिथ स्कूल के सभी स्टाफगण, अध्यापकगण एवं बच्चों एवं सभी अभिभावक गणों को इस कार्यक्रम में अपनी सहभागिता दर्ज करा रहे सभी अतिथियों का हम रोटेरियन दीपक अस्थाना आप सभी का सहृदय स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन करते हैं। आप सभी का मेरा सादर नमन। लगातार कई वर्षों से डब्ल्यू.एच. स्मिथ मेमोरियल स्कूल हिरोशिमा डे 6 अगस्त पर संगोष्ठी का आयोजन करता चला आ रहा है। हर वर्ष की भांति इस वर्ष भी आज हिरोशिमा डे पर आयोजित संगोष्ठी के लिए हम स्मिथ स्कूल के प्रति अपना आभार प्रकट करते हैं। हम सभी लोगों के लिए बड़े हर्ष का विषय है, इस वर्ष डब्ल्यू.एच. स्मिथ स्कूल अपना 60वां वर्ष पूरा कर रहा है। स्मिथ स्कूल हमारे वाराणसी ही नहीं अपितु पूरे भारत में अपनी योग्यता के लिए जाना जाता है। यहाँ से शिक्षा प्राप्त कर कई विद्यार्थी देश विदेश में अपनी अलग अलग पहचान बनाए हुए हैं। हम डॉक्टर अनीता पालिंडे एवं स्कूल के समस्त अध्यापकों को अपनी शुभकामना प्रेषित करते हैं। आपने अपनी मेहनत एवं लगन से डब्ल्यू.एच. स्मिथ मेमोरियल को एक नए आयाम पर ले जाएंगे। अब हम आप सभी को रोटरी क्लब वाराणसी साउथ के बारे में बताना चाहते हैं कि रोटरी क्लब वाराणसी साउथ वाराणसी का दूसरा सबसे पुराना क्लब है। इस वर्ष रोटरी क्लब वाराणसी साउथ अपना गोल्डन जुबली ईयर सेलिब्रेट कर रहा है। रोटरी क्लब वाराणसी साउथ हमेशा से ही सामाजिक कार्य, जरूरतमंदों की मदद, सभी की सेवा एवं मदद के लिए हमेशा तैयार रहता है, चाहे बाढ़ की स्थिति हो या कोरोना जैसी महामारी हो। इस पुनीत कार्य में हमारे सभी सदस्यों का विशेष सहयोग रहता है। लेकिन हमारे पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट रोटेरियन प्रदीप कुमार डी जी का विशेष सहयोग हमेशा हम सभी के लिए प्रेरणा स्रोत रहता है। जैसे इस महामारी में 40 दिन तक लगातार अन्नपूर्णा सेवा का कार्यक्रम चला। इस कार्यक्रम को शुरू करवाने वाले हमारे बड़े भाई रोटेरियन प्रदीप डे जी ही रहे। उन्होंने हम सभी को, हमको और डॉक्टर सुनील सोनकर को प्रोत्साहित किया कि आप लोग इस कार्यक्रम को करें, और हमारे क्लब के प्रेम प्रकाश अग्रवाल जी, मीना अग्रवाल जी और के काबरा जी का विशेष सहयोग इस कार्यक्रम में रहा। उसके बाद तो सहयोग देने वालों का लगातार फोन आता रहा और हमारे क्लब के सभी मेंबर अपना सहयोग प्रदान किए। उसके बाद वाराणसी के अन्य क्लबों द्वारा भी हमें सहयोग प्राप्त हुआ और हम डॉक्टर सुनील सोनकर जी के सहयोग से उन्होंने लगातार 40 दिन तक अन्नपूर्णा सेवा की। वैसे ही बाढ़ के समय में हमारी पास्ट प्रेसिडेंट रोटेरियन डॉक्टर अनीता डे ने नेपाल में जब बाढ़ आई थी, हमारे क्लब से 1.5 लाख लोगों के लिए यहाँ से व्यवस्था भेजी थी। हमारे क्लब का विशेष सहयोग रहता है। हमारा रोटरी क्लब वाराणसी साउथ कार्य करने में विश्वास रखता है, न कि उसको दिखाने में। सेवा एवं शांति ही हमारा परम उद्देश्य है। हम सभी को स्वच्छता, शांति एवं सेवा पर विशेष ध्यान देना चाहिए। आज इतने वर्षों बाद भी जापान में 6 अगस्त के युद्ध का परिणाम आप सभी को पता है। अतः हम सभी को भाईचारे एवं शांति के साथ रहना चाहिए और इस कार्य के लिए दूसरों को भी प्रेरित करना चाहिए, क्योंकि युद्ध चाहे कैसा हो, घर में हो, देश में हो, विश्व में हो, कहीं भी हो, युद्ध तो युद्ध है। इसके कभी भी किसी का भला नहीं होता है। केवल क्षणिक मात्र के लिए ऐसा लगता है कि हम अगर युद्ध करते हैं तो सब प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। इसके कई उदाहरण आपके सामने हैं, जैसे महाभारत का युद्ध हो या हिरोशिमा नागासाकी का युद्ध हो। अतः अंत में हम अपनी वाणी को विराम देते हैं और हम आप सभी से नम्र अनुरोध करते हैं कि आप अपने प्रेम को बांटिए और देखिए कि कितना सुख अनुभव प्राप्त होता है। प्रेम ही परमेश्वर है। आप सभी को मेरा सादर नमन, नाम। जय रोटरी, जय भारत। धन्यवाद। ओवर टू मीनाक्षी मैम।
I request Principal Ma'am to formally welcome our guests.
Very good evening and namaste हमारे प्रिय Rotarian गण जो आज हैं, and everyone who is listening. It is such a beautiful miracle that in spite of the fact that physically we are all away from each other, we are closer than ever before. And I think that at this time when we are all facing the dire circumstances of the pandemic, that we are still able to find the heart and the emotion to come together, not to celebrate, but to think about what happened years back, and that it should never again be repeated. Rotary International time and again has emphasized the need for spreading the message of peace. And if we go according to Galjung, who is the father of peace studies, he also says and is very, very emphatic that if you want to work, it has to start from the micro level, that is from the lower level. And for me, being a teacher, it starts from the children. So welcome to all the children, all my students who are here today. I will not delay anymore, but I will go on with the program. I would like to thank Rotary Club Varanasi South that they have been with us every year, holding our hands and helping in this wonderful program that we do. My naman and my namaste to my Guruji, Professor Priyanka Upadhyay, who is the chief guest and speaker for the day, and to Anju Sharan ma'am also, who I know is connected to us, his wonderful wife and a professor of her own standing from BHU. I welcome both of you and look forward to what you have to say and the message you have to give the children. Thank you very much. Meenakshi, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Nuclear weapons are the weapons of mass destruction. The world experienced the horrors of the nuclear weapon for the first time during the Second World War, when the United States nuked Nagasaki and Hiroshima, two populous cities of Japan. The world was shocked. Lakhs of people got killed within a short span of time. Thereafter, the radiation of the nuclear weapon persisted in the atmosphere for years, which resulted into several deformities related to various ailments among the survivors, the scourge of which is visible even today. When the various pockets of the world are driven by conflicts and have been experiencing racial and sectarian violence, the role of peace assumes even greater importance. Through peaceful means, the world can resolve all conflicts, thereby making this world a beautiful and safe place to live in. To commemorate Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day, last year on 9th August 2019, William Henry Smith Memorial School, in collaboration with Malviya Center for Peace, Research, BHU, and Rotary Club Varanasi South organized a mega painting competition on the theme Children for Peace. Never again such a tragedy. Let me remind you that various schools from 8 states of India with more than 25,000 entries participated in the painting competition. In pursuance of the same, during the pandemic, our school organized online painting competition based on the theme Peace, in which our students from classes 1 to 12 participated enthusiastically. The result of the painting competition are going to be announced in this program very soon. Yes, sir. Video has to be played here.
Okay.
Yes, we can spread peace forever. Cross
the people, all the races. Yes, we can spread all together. Change your country where the peace is. इस जहां के लिए, इस चमन के लिए, इस धरा के लिए, इस गगन के लिए। आओ सजदा करें हम अमन के लिए। आओ सजदा करें हम अमन के लिए। हर तरफ बस मोहब्बत का दरिया बहे। धर्म इंसानियत का दिलों में रहे। हर तरफ बस मोहब्बत का दरिया बहे। धर्म इंसानियत का दिलों में रहे। इस फिजा के लिए, इस पवन के लिए, इस धरा के लिए, इस गगन के लिए। आओ सजदा करें हम अमन के लिए। आओ सजदा करें हम अमन के लिए। मजहब के लिए अब लड़ाई ना हो। सोच में अब किसी की बुराई ना हो। मजहब के लिए अब लड़ाई ना हो। सोच में अब किसी की बुराई ना हो। हर किसी के लिए, इस चमन के लिए, इस धरा के लिए, इस गगन के लिए। आओ सजदा करें हम अमन के लिए। आओ सजदा करें हम अमन के लिए। अमन के लिए, अमन के लिए।
ये सब जमीन है मेरी, ये आसमान है मेरा। Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is my family.
Now I invite Mrs. Sangeeta Pandey to introduce our key panelist, Professor Priyanka Upadhyay.
Thank you, Meenakshi ma'am. Peace is not absence of conflict. It is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means. With these beautiful and meaningful lines, I would like to introduce our key panelist, Professor Priyanka Upadhyay, UNESCO Chair for Peace and Intercultural Understanding, Malviya Center for Peace Research, BHU. Sir has served Banaras Hindu University for over 4 decades in different teaching and research positions. He currently holds the UNESCO Chair for Peace and Intercultural Understanding and also serves as the prestigious Global Fellowship at the Peace Research Institute, Oslo. Sir has made foundational contribution to the Envision and Nurture, the Malviya Center for Peace Research at BHU. This unique accomplishment was well recognized by the granting of a UNESCO Chair for Peace in 2010 as well as in 2015. Sir has done postdoctoral studies at London University and holds a PhD and MPhil of Jawaharlal Nehru University with specialization in peace and conflict. He received an advanced diploma in conflict resolution from the Uppsala University, recipient of many prestigious awards and fellowships like the Scholar in Residence Award of Woodrow Wilson Center of International Scholars, Washington, D.C., Faculty Research Award of the Canadian Government, Senior Fulbright Award, to name a few. Sir has served as visiting professor and senior fellow at many leading universities in North America and Europe. He is on the Government Board Executive Council of various prestigious institutions in India and abroad. Sir has led several transnational research projects and institutional cooperation with European Union FP7, Marie Curie ETN, Norwegian Research Council, Peace Research Institute Oslo, Alton John Foundation, raising several millions for research and development. He has led several reputed institutions, including UN-mandated University for Peace, Costa Rica, Tony Blair Faith Foundation, Peace Research Institute Oslo, facilitating researchers and faculty to get advanced training abroad. Sir has published in journals and books from Oxford University Press, Manchester University Press, Cambridge University Press, to name a few. Sir has worked extensively with various UN agencies and entities. His recent volume on Long Walk of Peace Towards a Culture of Prevention has received global acclaim. Translated in all 5 UN languages, this volume is being disseminated worldwide by the UNESCO as a primer of peace. Sir has a long association with our school and has been working for more than 2 decades to ensure a better, safer planet for the students by increasing their awareness towards the need to reject war, violence, and instead to embrace harmony and peace. Sir, you make a difference with every step you take, with every thing you say and do and think. It all contributes to make this world a better place to live in. I welcome you once again, sir. And now I request Principal Ma'am to invite Professor Priyanka Upadhyay for his keynote address.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. I think you did a very good task, but it was very difficult for us to, shorten the resume or the biodata or background of Professor Priyanka Upadhyay. Let me tell you, friends, that it is indeed an honor for all of us who are here today in this virtual meeting that we have with us a persona such as Professor Priyankar Upadhyay. He has addressed, been one of the keynote speakers at the United Nations General Assembly, and this latest book which he has written, The Long Walk of Peace. This is a wonderful book which should be shared by everyone and read by everyone. It is a culmination of years of experience of working, of seeing and observing. One thing which I must say, and I think all my fellow students at MCPR and other people who have been in touch with Sir would say that he is a very keen observer. Many times we see things and हम लोग नजरअंदाज कर देते हैं and we don't think about it. But he is a true guru. He knows, he picks up those little nuggets and those little pieces of jewel and he puts it before us and he says, see, look at this. Now look at it from another point of view. And I tell you, it's always very fantastic, wonderful to interact with him. Every meeting is a learning experience. So I will not say any more except that I will welcome you, sir, to our meeting today. And we hope for a very long association with you in future. Thank you, sir, for coming today.
Thank you so much, Anita ji, Dr. Anita Pauline Day, and of course, Dr. Sangeeta Pandey, who was embarrassingly kind in giving me the kind of prefixes which I actually don't deserve. In my almost 40 years plus teaching stint in Banaras Hindu University, I sometimes successfully try to do things which are from my heart, and that actually has led to the creation of the Malvi Center for Peace Research, and that has brought us a wonderful association of people like Dr. Anita, Pradeep, not to miss, the Jodi has to be together. And more perhaps excitingly, to this entire fraternity of Smith School, the teachers very enthusiastic, and above all, I should say, the young students. I mean, we always say that if you are able to turn around the thinking process of a young student, see, one in class of 50, then you have won the game. Because I think the major purpose of education is transformation. How do you bring about that questioning capacity? How do you raise good questions? Because I think what is happening in today's world, and this is a paradox, is that we try to find answers of very fundamental questions on these fast flowing social media canvas, on these newspapers which are full of, what should I say, uh, trivialities, and the real questions are not sought. So I think that is a question that's eternal problematic, and it is approached by various trajectories. I mean, uh, peace is just one of the windows, but there are so many other windows. I mean, people who work with young children, people who work with women, people who are social activists, and not to miss the educational or education people who are teaching, impartition of teaching, education at all levels. So these are different windows which promote that thinking process in young minds. And I think peace is just one of the windows, and I'll tell you how this is rather overlooked. But first of all, it's an amiss. I should have thanked my wonderful colleagues from the Rotary International who are here with us. And we need to remind ourselves, as was suggested earlier by Dr. Sthana, the very impressive chief that you have for the your Rotary Club, that one of the primary purpose of Rotary Club has been to bring about peace within our own community, and also at world at large. Now, let me very quickly say, and then of course we'll go into the very unfortunate canvas of Hiroshima and our takeaway from that. The important thing here is to learn, and that's what I'll say at the start, and that's how I will end, is that peace shouldn't be seen as some kind of an ideal category. Peace should be seen as a euphoria. Peace should be seen as some kind of ideal, which is not possible to be achieved. I mean, this is absolutely a propaganda. People who think that peace is not achievable, whether it is peace between different communities, whether it is peace between various countries, India and Pakistan, India and China, Russia and America. It is quite possible. And we don't live in this wretched uh, conception of war of all against all, because all of us have this compassion, and that's what makes humans. And why only humans? Even the animal world, so susceptible. It's so intrinsic for us to have that feeling of compassion for each other. This compassion you see very, very starkly in the mother and the baby relationship, mother and the child relationship. And actually, this translates or can be seen in teacher-student relationship, in our community relationship. So peace, I will argue here, is pragmatic. It is the need of the day. And why this important message is hidden from people. Our young students, when they go to their educational process, the primary schools, secondary schools, they have all kind of aims. Only yesterday, there was big news flash about our, and we are very proud of them, of course, the students who have qualified for these class 1 high class Indian administrative service examinations. These young people would be serving our nation very efficiently. They will have much greater scope to do so. But we must always remember that there are people from the lowest or from the grassroots, lowest is not the word, from very practical life, people whom we sometimes ignore in everyday life, our young workers, our not so young workers, the rickshawala, the ordinary people, the chowkidars, the people who are putting their lot to ensure that and especially in this very unfortunate and unprecedented COVID times, the young doctors, the young paramedics, the nurses. I know what situation in BHU is. Every day when these young nurses, the paramedics, or the young doctors, not so young doctors, they go to the hospital to serve people. They are like warriors, and they are rightly called warriors. But I'm afraid that once the corona spell is over, and we pray that it should be the case, we'll forget all about calling them as warriors. So my argument is that peace, good life, social development, all has to be seen in a very composite manner, which shouldn't exclude anybody. I mean, bringing peace is a responsibility of everybody, not simply those of our leaders, not simply the great soldiers that we have on the front, but also the ordinary people that are living here, the religious teachers, the religious gurus, teachers like you. So this is the general background that I generally would like the young minds to think, that peace is not simply Hiroshima, Nagasaki day, one day in your life. The rest of the times, it's all about earning more status, more money, more power, more comfort. No, nothing will sustain unless we have developed what is known as the culture of peace. Unless we realize the immense power of peacefulness, we will never be happy people. Unless we have that inner peace, and inner peace is not simply remembering our deities or some spiritual gurus for a while and rest of the times remaining restless. So there is a relationship between inner peace, which is not possible unless we have social peace. If the city, the township, the community is disaffected, if a particular community is unhappy, if a, even if I'll extend the argument, if any nation in the world is unhappy, you will not remain happy. And one thing that we have learned today and past few months, we are seeing it, that crisis anywhere is a crisis everywhere. I mean, irrespective of where this virus came in from, but everybody is affected. And this has also created a situation in which all of us think together. This has created a huge scope for people, the workers, the health workers, the doctors, the scientists, the researchers working across cultures, across borders to save the well being of humanity. So, especially addressed to the young mind, just remember one thing. To talk about peace is not utopian. It's not some spiritual soul said something and now you go back to the work. You know, sometimes, and I think whether we have read Gandhi, understood Gandhi or not, but some of his misconceptions are so well resonated in our mindset. There is a famous saying which is distorted. Gandhi said that if somebody slaps on your one cheek, you offer the other cheek to him. And this is described as cowardice. Mahatma Gandhi, generally, if you wake up these young people from their beds dead of night, they'll say, who's Gandhi? He's, oh, he was utopian. I don't want to be Gandhi. I am not a Gandhi. So there's a certain way in which we decry non-violence. There is a certain way we decry peace. They forget that this man, Gandhi, had attained practically everything in his life. Look at his education, look at his background, look at his achievement. And yet he decided in favor of non-violence. He realized that, and he said it in so many words when he said that, look, we have very easily discovered the power of weapons, the missiles, the warplanes. I will not name any brand, it's complicated. We feel very excited when we see the devastational power of the military tanks, the fighter planes, the missiles. But we have yet to discover the power of non-violence. We have yet to discover it. And that's all his life. He kept on asking and arguing. And people who took it after him, who will believe that this father of this nation, and we call him as the father of our nation, no dispute about it. He would say that if this world has to become a safe place, this region has to become a safe place, we have to think about a world without borders, Jai Jagat, as he called it. He would say, he talked about Shanti Sena. And he would always say that if we think that military and police are going to bring peace, that's not the case. We have to, all of us have to become a soldier for peace. So a lot of ideas are there. I preface these, ramblings in my mind, especially finding these young people, especially, and I think all of us young, as long as we live, as long as we think, we need to learn to raise questions about where this world is going. And that a very good window to understand that is to go back to why Hiroshima, Nagasaki happened. And I will share a screen with you just to give you a quick sense of, a visual sense of the Nagasaki. So this is, as you know, the Children for Peace as, this program we started. And let me see, we go here to, yeah. So now we see that long years back, and we were not the only one, but Banaras Hindu University along with the Smith School, we decided to invest in children as the future makers of peace. You can see how beautifully these two young, a boy and a girl, they are looking ahead. And at the background, if you use your imagination, is the Holocaust. It is the Hiroshima fire. And the background is they have emerged safe from this Holocaust. See, not long ago, humans learned something very treacherous, and that was it. Through the science and technology, they learned the power of nuclear synergy. 1945, even the nuclear knowledge was transmitted from Germany to US, and there was a sensation. And very soon, as soon as the Americans experimented with the nuclear energy, they dropped these two bombs, on 6th of August and 9th of August on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Just last year, I had the fortune of going to Japan, and I visited these two cities. Now there is nothing, no trace is available excepting that they have preserved certain buildings, they were completely destroyed. But you can still feel, you can go still in their hospitals, there are people who suffer from it. The loss, the tragic loss of Hiroshima blast and Nagasaki blast is for everybody to remember. You have to just see it. This is the worst that could happen. Now I'll stop here and ask you to contextualize that. Have we changed from this treacherous loss of humanity? Have we changed it? No. 45 onwards, we kept on adding to our nuclear capacities, even despite the nuclear disasters at Fukushima and Chernobyl and in so many other countries. We kept on raising such slogans, and we picked up again in our work here, never again. But were we able to make success? Definitely not. It's a long struggle ahead. You know, sometimes Mahatma Gandhi, you know, when this explosion took place, Mahatma Gandhi became just voiceless. He remained silent. As far as India is concerned, his pledge was that on my dead body should my country people make and produce this weapon. But he remained silent for a long time. He just didn't know what to say, what to criticize. And then, this is Junior Gandhi, as we call it. And see what has happened since then, despite Mahatma Gandhi and so many of his disciples, the nuclear weapons have kept on increasing in the world. And I'll just stop you here and ask you to see what I'm arguing about. See, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the bomb that were used were of less than 20 TNT. I mean, those who do science, I don't do science, so I make mistakes. But they were just very minute of what the bombs are today. Nowadays, a nuclear weapon is 150,000 times more powerful than the bombs that destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, with 2,000 times destructive power. And you know how many bombs you have? This morning, reading through all the inane news in a Hindi newspaper, I will not say anything. There was in the corner, there was a news item saying that, well, Hiroshima Day is being commemorated. And the argument was that over 13,500 nuclear warheads are there today. Each of these warheads can destroy the world many a times. Imagine we are so scared, we are so uneasy We are desperate, depressed, pessimistic after the coronavirus. We pray that vaccine should come soon enough. But imagine that we have 13,500 weapons, and each of these weapons can destroy the world many times. This age is rightly called the age of overkill. And the treaties have not helped. There was this non-nuclear, non-proliferation treaty, which for good reasons, India didn't sign it, Pakistan didn't sign it, and why should they? The powerful countries, the nuclear weapon countries, USA, UK, France, Russia, China, they said that only we should keep these weapons. So naturally, the other countries also made. Israel has bomb in the basement, North Korea has made it, and who knows what. So, my young friends, I will, after giving you a glimpse of the journey that we did in during past so many decades, the situation remains as pessimistic, as dreary, as dark. Oftentimes I worry that one mistake, one misread, one miscalculation, one terrorist group getting hold of nuclear weapon in one country, and the world is done with. You don't require Corona 20 to come. We live very dangerously. And there is a psychological frenzy among our young people, old people, and everybody. We glorify weapons. We glorify warfare. We glorify violence. Only this morning I was talking to a very old, very dear student of mine who's a big administrative officer now. And he said that, we should teach lessons to other countries. And by just through force, I said, do you know the cost of warfare today, even if you don't use nuclear weapons? And he didn't know. I said, if imagine a scenario that India and Pakistan have a full-fledged non-nuclear war, their economy will crumble down in just about a week's time. It's so expensive. So war is not an option. Had war been an option, the most powerful country of that time and even now, the United States of America, would have defeated Vietnam, and it couldn't. After losing almost 70,000 of its soldiers, after making that tiny little Vietnam a city of hell, there was, those who visited it, and I had the fortune very soon after it, there was the whole people used to live like rats in a hole, but still it couldn't defeat. War is not an option. It's deterrence. It's the philosophy that perpetuates. And unfortunately, people who used to talk about peace are less and less in number. Unfortunately, the schools and the teachers, there is a whole tremendous growth industry of military sciences, military schools, the arms. Look, I have nothing against. I love my soldiers. I know that borders are very important to protect unless we live in a very ideal world. But we should also consider that unless we have a larger vision of peace, this madness will not go anywhere. War has not remained an option anymore. Not at all. Believe me. Deterrence is, if you think that helps. And the lack of interest in peace has led to very distorted kind of vision. I mean, time and again, I ask my students, how many of us know? And a lot of teachers, a lot of students read newspapers, they prepare for all kind of examinations, general studies, general knowledge. How many of us would know that the United Nations has declared the nuclear weapons illegal? Do we know this? No, we don't. Have we considered that there is a right to peace now, passed by the United Nations? We don't care because the newspapers didn't care. newspapers and the media is always after the bad news about violence, about weapons, about huge aircrafts landing and getting out, about nuclear warheads. But they have no patience to carry such news that peace is very important. These UN secretaries, right? United Nations is not the only organization. A lot of people, these peace organizations are working relentlessly to tell only one thing: it's not utopia, it's your future. Corona gave you time, lockouts, lock open. But suppose one mistake is caused by one country, North Korea. You remember there was a big debate when North Korea was in a active spat with the United States, Trump and North Korea, their leader. And both in very funny manner said, I have a small button. He said, I have a big button. And pushing a button anywhere in the world means a destruction. Despite some of my colleagues think that I just do peace studies, I have, perhaps my credentials are far more pronounced and impressive. I have worked in one of the most eminent, most high standing military academies of the world, including US Air Force Academy. I teach in National Defense College here. I think nobody from North India, university system would be teaching in NDC means that you're teaching people up, major and above, lieutenant colonel and above. I teach them. So there is no contradiction. It's not a utopia. Even the military journals say that, well, our job is to protect the border from outside enemies. But there are situations inside your country, the sense of community, sense of service, that has to be learned, imbibed, and practiced by people. And who would do it? And who would teach it? I think parents should teach it. Parents should realize that, somehow we have become crazy without realizing the consequences. We think that we can win the world. So there is lots of things to share. And I think a young mind is the most fertile time for us as parents, as teachers, to inculcate one simple thing that, look, peace is pragmatic. War, violence, and conflict is too costly. It's so costly. It distracts. I just gave a puzzle to each one of us here, thinking that how much a warplane cost and how many warplanes are just lost in accidents. Look, my argument is not about India at all. In general, the war industry in the United States, for example, almost 60% of their economic growth is because of war industry, armament industry. So for armament industry to flourish, you need conflicts. If you don't have conflicts, you create one. There were many situations in Middle East when the United States was selling arms to both sides. And same is true in South Asia, believe me. We are buying arms from the same country, which is selling arms to the other country. If we can get Rafale from France, China of course produces its own. If tomorrow Pakistan goes to France and tries to buy it, France will be very happy. I mean, it's a business, but this business is very, very detrimental to people. And once again, my argument is not that you leave your defenses to, no, we should guard our defense, we should be somewhere. If India has to become a Vishwa Guru, as we often claim, we also need to, expand, to give leadership in the idea of peacefulness. I mean, this country, mind you, was not known because of its muscles anytime. We can't have enough muscles. We don't have that resources to match even the Chinese, or to forget about United States. But we do have moral power in our great traditional, literature and discourses. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what a fascinating idea it is. The whole world is a family. In our old tradition, we say, Vade Vade Jayate Tattva Bodha. There's so much space for dialogue that we don't need to really pick up arms and things. So violence is not an answer. Unfortunately, this is as the years go by, I feel that somehow increasingly there is less focus on the ideas of peace. Peace is seen as something very, very puerile, very childish. No, this country, any country, and this world is in throe of a grave challenge. We just have to read some UN resolutions. There's the only organization, by the way, having so many countries put together. And it's breaking, the multilateralism is breaking. The Americans have withdrawn from UNESCO, WHO, and so on and so forth. China has its own designs which are not so positive at all. So India has to take lead. And my India, I see in these young minds. Yes, you should become doctors, engineers, bureaucrats. Yes, why not? Why not crave for that powerful imagery? But more than that, try to become a good citizen of this country. Life is just here for a few decades, my dear, young and not so young friends. You should become good teacher, social activist, environmentalist. And so these are the thoughts that come to me. Hiroshima and Nagasaki gives us a window. And I think it was just a coincidence that we joined hands together. I remember 20 years back, my center, which was just taking shape, I think I was the only person. Now we have half a dozen people and several dozen research students, fellows, and so Dr. Anita, they came. She was not a doctor, and she's not so impressive and formidable as she is now, of course. And we had a small sapling. We thought of putting together our efforts to bring in school teachers from all over the city and to teach them about how peace is pragmatic. And a painting show was organized. And I'm very, very excited. And when I look back, I think that was one achievement that I was a part of that particular process, that Anita and her wonderful school and colleagues carried out that tradition. Let me ask you, how many schools today in India, how many universities in India would be commemorating Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day? It's a forgotten theme, and that's the tragedy. Even in my university, of course, it's closed. People, if you ask them why this date is important now, they don't know, because when they were very young, the foundation was not laid. And I must remind you before I close, I stop. That's not for nothing that the United Nations established UNESCO, United Nations Education, Social and Cultural Organization. And what was the preamble of UNESCO? Very simple. Since the wars begin in the minds of humans, since the wars begin here, the power, the crazy, the tanks, the flights, since the wars begin in the minds of humans, it is in the minds of humans here that the defenses of peace should be built. So I think we have enormous responsibility to inculcate in our young minds, whether we are teachers, whether we are parents, where we are Rotarians, where we are anybody, to stand for the pragmatic aspect of peace and not simply stop at Mahatma Gandhi, Buddha, and Kabira. No. You need to work to stop this menace, this specter of violence and blood. That's no solution. We live in a city wherein Buddha preached, this is the first preaching here, Kabir Das, Mahavir. So many people over there and here. And we have to learn that peace is perhaps the most pragmatic need of our time. If, the world powers, including India, of course, they just cut their defense budget by 10%. I repeat, just 10%, not more. I'm not asking for disarm. We will never have any shortage of health services. We'll never have any languishing schools. Poverty can be absolutely eliminated. See, war is a very costly business. And peace simply requires a few moments of raising your compassion, whether it is in your classroom, whether it is in your everyday life, whether towards each other. And believe me, I have not succeeded myself in doing so. So I have that kind of admission, that kind of self criticism. But still, that doesn't prevent me from joining the big journey of with those who believe that in this short lifetime, we all should work together to live our life full of compassion, feelings, and care for others. And I think the message of Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day is to value life, to worry about those people who lose their lives. You know, there are, we need to be a little conscious about violence also, conflict. There are direct violence, indirect violence, is structural violence, poverty, lack of dignity. You know, when we don't give dignity to others, we are engaging in a kind of violence, practical violence. Many, several million, and not one, two, maybe 30, 40, 50 millions, 150 million people have lost their lives in direct violence. So our society is not as pleasant and rosy. And even before this COVID specter arrived, and that's of course the most, as I say, unprecedented crisis of my lifetime, our lifetime. I think things were not good, and we need to set it right. At least try to take a step forward. And I would very much like my young, very young students to study peace seriously. What is violence? Why is military? What did Gandhi, why did Gandhi preach borderless world? Why did he said Shanti Sena should replace the regular army? Why? So unless you go into these crevices of history, you will not have not only good answers, but your questions will be misplaced. You will keep on comparing, that if Pakistan has 180 missiles, nuclear missiles, why India has 140? I mean, when one missile each will destroy the country. If Pakistan fires 10 missiles and 9 missiles are destroyed like those computer games by Indians on the Pakistani space, and one missile also drops it or gets dropped in Lahore. So if Lahore, one Pakistan missile, nuclear missile drops in Lahore, what will happen? Delhi will be destroyed. Banaras will not be the same again. Life will be miserable. It's a dangerous world. So we need to realize this, because once an accident happens, then you don't have time to go back to the point to save that accident. We have to save this accident. And I think this, with these very, very strikingly threatening, menacing specter, I would give you blessings and hopes that this effort, which is so beautifully, fascinatingly carried forward by the Rotary International and also by our wonderful uh, colleagues, teachers, and the carers of Smith School, will see that the young students associated with Smith School, they would develop another dimension to their, be a good scientist, good doctor, good engineer, good mathematician, but also become a good peace activist. And it will give you an edge, mind you. It will give you a career in the, I'm not saying the United Nations and others, it will give you a happiness that will be unprecedented. So with these words, I close here. There's so many things I never intended to say, and Dr. Anita knows that I don't, but there's so many things I missed, and I really thank the organizer of this program, the wonderful listeners for your patience, and if my words have brought even a minute change in the way you think about life and your work, I will be very, very delighted. Namaste.
Thank you, sir, for igniting our minds on peace and its importance in modern world. As you said, sir, indeed, peace is the need of the hour, both nationally, and globally. Without peace, the very existence of mankind is at stake. Now I invite Mrs. Rakhi Verma to brief us about OESCA and also announce results of the painting competition.
Thank
I
you,
am
Meenakshi
going
ma'am.
to just interrupt Rakhi for a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell you that I think that Sir should write another book for school children, igniting young minds, because his talk has been really like an igniting factor, and he's always like a catalyst, setting us all thinking and then gently moving back so that the change takes place. Sorry, carry on, Rakhi. I will not interrupt you.
Thank you, ma'am. Peace is the desire of every beating heart. Peace is the hope of every nation, the goal of every prayer. Peace is a bold, courageous, and respect to the nation. Peace is the concept of societal friendship, universal friendship, and brotherhood. We know that clean and green environment facilitates peace, but we need to understand the importance of interconnectedness of peace and environment for the maintenance of sustainable future. Going ahead with Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, our school collaborated with OISCA International Japan, an NGO founded in 1960 for past few years with the efforts of PDG Rotarian Dr. V.N. Singh, President OISCA International North India Varanasi chapter, and Rotarian Mr. Pradeep Kumar De, a member of OISCA, and accelerated the concept of Mutainai, not to waste, and practicing the 4 Rs: reduce, reuse, recycle, and respect for the nature, leading to a peaceful environment. To develop the spirit of peace among students for the past 20 years, our school has been organizing painting competition in collaboration with Malviya Center for Peace to commemorate Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day. This year, the competition was organized on 26th July. Painting describes both the action and the result of the action, the act. The students of our school from classes 1 to 12 have been beautifully interpreted, represented, expressed their positive ideas and thoughts through breathtaking artwork. These paintings really transmit a message of solidarity, love, compassion, cooperation, tolerance, peace, respect, and to persevere even at this time of pandemic, and above all, keeping a goal of in mind of Swachh Bharat, an environment free from all impurities, unhygienic situation, pollution, and even from this COVID 19. This competition attracted about 1,000 submissions from all categories on different topics: landscape, scenery, cartoon characters of Corona warriors, still life composition, keeping hand sanitizer, water bottle, kerosene tablet, ashwagandha, tulsi plant, neem leaves. Without much delay, let me start with the results of the painting competition. At the third position, let us begin from class 1. At the third position, we have Dani Mishra of class 1A. At the second position, we have Virat Tavnani from 1C. And the first position has been bagged by Madhav Agrawal of 1A. From class 2, we have Sanidhya Pandey of 2C at the third position. And the second position, we have Adrika Keshri. And in the first position, we have Rudra from 2A. Class 3, we have at the third place, we have Divyan Singh Raghuvanshi. Second place, we have Tanishk Singh of 3A. And first place, we have Anshuman Chakravarti of 3B. Now, class 4. At the fourth place, from class 4, at the third place, we have Janvi Seth of 4A. And the second place we have Anab Gupta or 4A. And the first place has been bagged by Arnab of 4C.
Blessings, joy, and pride, we know. Not just mine for the world they share. One with the joy.
Now we begin with class 5. Hirdaya Singh of 5B at the third place. And the second place we have Arna Gupta of 5A. And at the first place we have Mayank Maurya of class 5B. Now class 6, we have at the third place, we have Ishan Jaiswal of 6A. And the second position, we have Varchasva Singh of 6C. And the first position, we have Anurag Dhanuka of class 6A. Class 7th, at the third position, we have Akhand Pratap Singh from 7A. The second position, we have Adarsh Sarraf from class 7C. And the first position have been bagged by Atharva Mishra of class 7B. For class 8, at the third place, we have Arush Pandey from 8th B. Second place, we have Tanya Maurya of 8C. And the first place has been backed by two participants, Kavya Chaurasia of 8B and Madhurima of 8C. Now for the classes 9th and 10th. At the third place, we have Nida Fatima of 10C. Second position, we have Aris Fatima of 9C. And the first position, we have Inkishaf Tamim of 9C. Classes 11th and 12th. At the third place, we have Samriddhi Agrawal of class 12B. Second place, we have Isha Kumari of 11th B. And the first position has been bagged by Tunishka Gupta of class 12th B. I would like to tell that e-certificates will be given to the winners through email. I would like to repeat. E-certificates will be given to the winners through email. Thank you. Now I would request students to sing the song on world peace. A big congratulations to all the winners and request the students to sing the song on world peace.
There are people dying. It's time to end it.
Pretending day by day, that's about somehow it's so big a change.
We are all about us, but really coming. And it's no glory. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's to make a better day. Just you and me. Listen in your heart. So they know that no one cares. So they cry for help, not the end. We can't let them suffer. No, we cannot turn away.
Right now, they need the help in hand. No similar. We are the children. We are the ones who make it brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice to make it. We are saving our own life. We need to make a better day. Just you and me.
And when I'm down and out, there seems no hope at all. But if you don't believe, there's nowhere we can go.
Well, let's realize that change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make it right. So let's start giving. There's a choice for making. We are saving our own lives. It's only just you and me.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's to make a better day. Just you and me.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a better day. So let's start giving. There is a choice to make. We are saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day. Just you and me.
Thank you, Ayan, Vishesh, Shaurya, and Swasti for this mesmerizing song. Thank you very much, children. It's time to acknowledge the efforts of our technical team, Mr. Rajan Pandey, Mr. Rahul Mishra, Mr. Chandan Seth, Mr. Yogesh Chandel, and Fine Arts Department, Mr. Chandradeep Sharma, Mrs. Mamta Botra, Mrs. Naina Baga, without whom the painting competition would not have been a success. Now I request Meenakshi ma'am to please ask Pratyasha ma'am to propose the vote of thanks.
I now request Ms. Pratyasha Meride to propose vote of thanks.
A very good evening to one and all present over here. As rightly said by Alice Walker, thank you is the best prayer that anyone could say. Thank you expresses extreme gratitude, humility, and understanding. Therefore, on this auspicious occasion, I would like to extend heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries for taking out time from their schedule to make this webinar a success. First and foremost, I would like to thank the keynote panelist, Professor Priyankar Upadhyay, UNESCO Chair for Peace and Intercultural Understanding, Malviya Center for Peace Research at BHU. Thank you, sir, for inspiring us with your knowledge. It is always a pleasure to listen to you. Leadership is not a position or a title, it is action and example. Therefore, very special thanks to the entire Rotary Club Varanasi South for taking the lead in organizing this webinar, especially Rotarian Deepak Asthana, President, Rotary Club Varanasi South, Rotarian Pradeep De, Secretary, Rotary Club Varanasi South and OESCA member, Rotarian Dr. Anita Pauline De, convener of the webinar and Principal W.H. Smith Memorial School, Rotarian V.N. Singh, past district governor and OESCA president. I would also like to thank all the presidents and secretaries of District 3120. Teamwork divides the task and multiplies the success. I extend my gratitude to the entire Smith School team, Ms. Sweetie Agarwal, coordinator of Smith School, the technical team headed by Mr. Rahul Mishra, Mr. Chandan Seth, and Mr. Yogesh Chandel. The Fine Arts Department, Mr. Chandadeep Sharma, Mrs. Mamta Bothra, Mrs. Naina Bagga for organizing the collection of artwork and judging. The music team headed by Mrs. Sucharita Gupta and also the comparing team. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the parents, teachers and students of Smith School. At the end, I would like to remind everyone what Mahatma Gandhi said. There is no path to peace. Peace is the path. With this quote, I would rest my speech. Have a great evening.
Rotarian Deepak Asthana ji, I request you to please bring the meeting to an end after Secretary's announcements.
सेक्रेटरी अनाउंसमेंट प्रदीप भैया करेंगे. Our next regular meeting is 15th August, flag hosting. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.